Hey everyone, so I have the pleasure of speaking with Eyewitness News, David Novarro in the cafeteria in the building. So David, can you just introduce yourself and tell me what you do here at Eyewitness News?
My name is David Novarro. I am a news anchor for Eyewitness News. I anchor the noon and the 4 p.m.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got to where you are?
Well, that's a big question. How much time do you have? Because this could take a while.
We got some time, don't worry.
So I was born and raised here in New York City, and I knew pretty early on that I wanted to get into journalism. My father had expressed interest in it. He actually went to Columbia for a semester or two. He had a GI Bill, but couldn't stay, and he just couldn't afford to stay at the school long. But he went for journalism, and so I think that he didn't push me in that direction, but it certainly rubbed off on me. At one point, I went to NYU. Certainly what I was doing, what I was pursuing, it was a school that I thought might give me a leg up on certain things. In the end, what school you go to is only a marginal difference. I wouldn't make too big a deal about that. But I will tell you this. I didn't get my first internship through NYU. I worked as a part-time to help pay my tuition. I worked as a bus dispatcher at the George Washington Bridge, and I would see people, the passengers board the buses, and if they had an ABC logo or a New York Times, hat or anything that indicated that they were in the business, I would approach them and I would introduce myself and say, I'm a student. Excuse me, I'm a student. I see that you work for, or at least you're carrying, you appear to work for one of the companies that I'm interested in. And any advice to give me and how to get started in this business? Yeah. Eventually, I became friends with one commuter whose father worked at ABC. And he helped me get my first internship. More internships were available, which is a pity because that is such a great way to get into the business. I started as a sophomore taking internships. Wow. And I continued to take them. I would just, before my internship ended, I would look around, talk to people at the station, and say, you looking for interns? Because next semester I'm going to present. And then I would get another job. And they go, yeah, sure. They just took me in. They thought I was getting paid. And I was like, no, I'm not getting paid. And I got a job as a desk assistant. A desk assistant, for any of you don't understand it, it's like a production assistant job in the production world. But it works in a newsroom. I was told, don't take the desk assistant job because it's a dead-end job. There are people that have been doing this job for 10 years. And here's my bit of advice to anybody. When they tell you don't do something, do it. Half the time it's you take that leap and you make it your own. What I did once I got that job as a desk assistant, because I had been there already, I put together a proposal. It was at a time when we had made the transfer over to digital from videotape, and there was a lot of film still being used. And I said, look, you have no library here. I could be your one person to do that. And I made a proposal, created a position. 2 weeks later, they said, okay, you're hired. Did not exist. It was not even on the books as a position. That was a second thought. But I'm thinking to myself, I got a corner office, and I'm like 21. I knew I didn't want to be a librarian. So what I did was I took advantage of being in the situation. I made myself very valuable to them. It was at a time when computers were really being used more and more. So I combined a couple of things I was doing, and I was a researcher. Then I put in a writer's test, and I became a writer. Mm-hmm. And then quickly, I became a producer for a public affairs show that we had there because there was a lack of diversity. It really was to my advantage. I'm of Puerto Rican descent. That I was like, you don't have enough diversity, and I'm the guy for this job. And at the time, it was a public affairs show dedicated to Latinos. I would always take a position and look to where am I going to be at the next place I could be. Okay. And I'm going to fast forward to how I became a reporter. I think I told you the story. I was doing an event to kick off. At the time, I was working on a music video show at the station, and the general manager liked the way I handled myself with the group, and came to me after the event and said, would you be interested in being in front of the camera as a reporter? Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, they already knew that I put stories together. I had experience as a writer, as a field producer. I could tell a story. I just was not comfortable with being in front of the camera because I hadn't done it. But I told them, yeah, absolutely. So, do a demo tape. I did two pieces for a public affairs show that we have at the station, and that led to a job on the air. It's got to be the only one I can think of at Eyewitness News where someone didn't come from another market or some other place with experience as an on-air reporter where they hired me and brought me up. Well, I take that back. Another example would be before me would probably be like Geraldo Rivera, who was a lawyer at the time, and then they took a chance on him, and that helped launch his career. Mm-hmm. And there's been a couple of others, but in more of my generation, I was one of the very few to have that luck and opportunity to be land on my lap. And then along the way, I just continued to work on my craft until eventually I became an anchor in the position I have right now.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of versatility and being able to do multiple things and wear multiple hats until you figure out?
That's everything. It's everything. I mean, you really want to be the go-to person because you just don't know where the opportunities are going to come. I mentioned this to you before, definitely, was that my approach to my career was an open door policy, and that was when I saw a door open, I walked through that door. It may not be the path that I had chosen, and a lot of times I took jobs that I had been advised not to take because they were not in the traditional trajectory of getting to where I wanted to get. But in my mind, I thought, well, I'll just take this job, I'll build experience, I'll make new set of contacts, and then I'll try to manipulate this back to where I want it to go, or go for the ride. Maybe I'll be introduced to something that I didn't think I would like, and then find out I do love it, and then go down that path. Key to that is being, as flexible and as multi-talented as you can be in different areas. And I can tell you stories of people who have become general managers who started out as cameramen, who started in another part of the field, for that matter, the CEO of Disney, who at one point was a cameraman. And so, there's a lot of things you can do, and there's no real guaranteed path of where you're going to end up. A lot of it has to do with what you do with these opportunities when you're given them.
So I guess we could agree that part of the advice you'd give to entry-level people is to be open-minded, be able to do multiple things, network, make sure that you talk to people and network. Yeah. What other steps to prepare for an entry-level position would you give to somebody that's starting out?
I would say, and you just use the word that is the key, prepare. Any position you submit yourself for, you should put all the work into preparing for that position that you can. And I can't tell you how many times someone sits down for an interview and they don't even realize who they're talking to. They think, oh, well, I'm meeting with somebody from the company, and later on you find out that they're a critical person to the decision-making at the place. Put the work into knowing who you're pitching, what that job is, and this way it'll allow you to present yourself as the best candidate for that position. The next thing is, you always want to be a problem solver. If you want to get hired, you don't come in as a project for the person to hire. You come in with the idea that, hey, I'm going to solve some of your issues for you because I'm going to take care of this, and this, and you can depend on me to do this, and you won't have to worry about this issue anymore. You're looking to hire someone for this position, you got more than what you hoped for because I'm the person for this job.
And it's funny that you said you want to come in and solve an issue that they have, but when you went in, you were solving an issue that the company didn't even know that they had. Diversity is such a big thing today. And you came in and said, I could bring diversity to the table. I'm Hispanic. Yeah. I'm gonna make your environment more diverse. And even just a few years ago, diversity wasn't as big a thing as it is right now. That people make it because it is a big thing. It's important to have people of different walks of life and experiences and cultures in a workplace. So you gave advice to somebody that would be starting out as entry level. But when you do get to the position that you're in, can you just tell me a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like?
Well, I'm in a position now where I am the last voice of a team of effort that comes in. And as I'm presenting it, I'm the last voice. I have the last hand on it, and then we give it to you. As that final filter, it's a tremendous responsibility, especially when you're dealing with informing the public. The only value we have is trust. If you don't trust who is presenting the news to you, there's no purpose. We're not giving you opinions. We're trying to present the facts for you to make your own decisions with. But we'll give it context. Mm-hmm. So all of that said, my whole day is about striving for accuracy and for effective storytelling. I have an opportunity to tell you why this should matter, why a war in the Middle East should matter, why Congress not having a House Speaker should matter. And I can do that through my storytelling. And especially coming from New York and me speaking to a New York audience, I can put my own personal touch on it because I am not just delivering the news, I am consuming it. I am a member of this community, and I can share my stories in a contextual way to help give that story some life and some better understanding.
So being that journalist, what are, if you want to give me like 5 core qualities or just a number off the top of your head that you would say an entry-level person should have coming into the industry?
They should be an avid consumer of news to begin with, be fully aware of your current events, which is interesting because when I started, I was not. But where I'm at right now requires me to have a deeper understanding of the world around me and on many different levels. And I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly finding out details about the world around me that allow me to just be a better communicator and a better journalist. But I enjoy knowledge. I enjoy getting what I can. I'm constantly reading history books and current events, stories on the front lines of various issues that just make me, fulfilled as a person. So, just be a sponge for knowledge. But one of the core things is you need to be well informed. You just need to understand what the world is around you. And when I say well informed, that goes to history. 2 of the most important disciplines you should have in your pocket is be an amateur historian, so you really have a sense of what's going on and how history continually repeats itself. Also have a good grasp of the English language, because words matter, verbiage matters, and it's important to be able to communicate effectively. And not just, with a verbal communication, but in the written word as well, so that you can make impactful sentences that make a difference. And then have a heart. You're talking to people who have lost loved ones. You're telling horrific stories that are impossible to even imagine, and yet sometimes if you're a reporter, you see it firsthand. That's probably one of the toughest parts of the job that I had, seeing death up close or seeing unbearable grief up close. Keep your heart. Make sure that you never forget that there's a person with feelings listening, and so you have to have heart and understanding and sensitivity to the community.
Well, David, thank you for your advice, wise words, and for sharing your story and your experiences. I really appreciate it. Do you have any last words or anything you want to say before we go?
Well, I'm very encouraged. I think the future is very bright. People like you, I think you're going to do fantastic. And I'm anxious to see, what the next generation holds. So good luck to all of you out there. And I can't wait. Listen, I'll be sending my resume to one of you. I know, at some point in the future, because you're all going to do fantastic. So good luck.
And thank you guys for joining us in the Cafeteria Podcast.